Thomas, it's up for grabs now!
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira!
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it!
Fabulous solo goal by pierre-emerick.
Good evening and welcome to a special edition of the Arsenal Lounge with a guest we're really happy to have on. We're going to be discussing the game today, but before we go into that, Mo Hyder, how you doing, brother? It's great to have you on the show. How are you?
Look, I'm happy to be here, man. Thank you very much for having me on, and I'm really glad that the first time I'm on here is after a good away win. You know, that hasn't happened too many times this season where I'm talking about an Arsenal win. So I'm glad
that's a good omen. That's a good omen, Mo. Yeah,
sure,
remember that when you came on here first. Yeah, we got a win, right? So
that's it, man.
I'll go straight into it, Rob. So look, basically, the lineup at Selhurst Park today against Palace, you had Leno in goal, Chambers, Holding, and Gabriel with Tierney on the left, and then we had Partey, Elneny in the middle. With Xhaka on one side, Pepe, ESR in that sort of 10 role, and Aubameyang up top, right? For me, this game itself really says everything you need to know about Arsenal. Like in a capsule, in one game, it just shows you everything that we've gone through in this entire season, right? We had a good start. We looked pretty solid. We were in control in the first half in particular. There was a few threats with Benteke in the box, but generally we looked pretty solid. We controlled the game pretty well. And then there was great interlink between, it was Xhaka, I believe, and Tierney on the left-hand side. Great bit of football. The typical Arsenal. Great little back heel from Xhaka. Played Tierney through. Great delivery, Tierney. 35th minute, Pepe arrives. So we look pretty good, Mo, for me. And then obviously, we know what started to transpire in the second half. In that first half, by the way, there was a couple of shouts for offside. Not offside, for fouls, in the sense of, you know, you could have been given a red. It was arguable. I think it was Schlupp was one of the players, and you had Benteke using what was classed as negligible force, which is the first thing I've heard. So you could argue with that, but generally, you know, it was okay. And then second half, you saw what happened to us. Benteke, ball over the top. Suddenly we're in trouble. Poor marking from Gabriel. Elneny slight push. And then we started from that 62nd minute onwards. To me, we looked like that Arsenal with that fragility. We started to look like we were off the pace. We started to look like they were coming at us. We couldn't control it. And, you know, there was a concern there. That was a typical Arsenal performance in that little spell there that we've seen all season. But again, a couple of great goals to get us out of it. One by it was Pepe coming in first goal. Then we had a great goal in Odegaard playing the ball over the top to Martinelli, and then you had Pepe again in the final couple of seconds. So in all, that's what I'm trying to get at. It's like the whole game of the season in that one game there. I mean, what was your thoughts on it?
I disagree, bro, because this ended well. Our season is not ending well. So you're saying it's kind of Arsenal season in a game that I wish it was Arsenal season in a game, because then we'd be in the Europa League final right now. We'd have something to shout about. We'd be ending on a high. We're ending with a whimper. We're competing to try and get into a flipping Europa Conference League that I don't want to be in. So for me, this game, the only way it was reflective of Arsenal's season, it was that it could have gone either way almost, and it showed a bit of our inconsistency. You know, our goalkeeper was called into action a lot. It wasn't it wasn't what I'd say like a brilliant performance, but what showed in the end was just that extra bit of quality. And then you have to ask yourself, where did that quality come from? It came from two players that actually, a lot of times this season, we're thinking, why is he not in the team? Martinelli and Pepe, but especially Martinelli. Martinelli was one that won us that game today. And how many times have thousands of Arsenal fans, Martin Keown on BT Sport has been flipping the champion of this cause. Where is Martinelli? And do you know what? Every time Martinelli plays, and I think he does well enough to say, I deserve more opportunities, because no one can make a case for him deserving less opportunities than he's been given, because he's been given hardly any opportunity. I just think to myself, next game, back on the bench, I don't understand why. And I love the way he reacts after games. You know, there was one game earlier on in the season where his post-match comments kind of just put it onto Arteta in a nice, polite, sort of charming way. And today he's done exactly the same thing, saying that I'm always there for Mikel Arteta. Whenever he needs me, I'm always there. And I kind of think to myself, for such a young guy to react with so much like class and do it in such a charming way, to not come across disrespectful, he does it brilliantly. He performs and then does the talking, but he does it really well, rather than kind of being a bit of a diva or showing his frustration. What more does the guy have to do? Even in the BT Sports studio after the game, they kind of mentioned he's a manager's dream, and he is, because he doesn't seem to have that ego or that attitude. He just seems really, really enthusiastic. And what I loved about that goal that he scored today, as far as assists go, I don't think that assist from Odegaard was a great ball into the box. You
don't think so?
No, not at all.
Decent. No,
I don't think so. I think that is really, really poor defending, coupled with like an unbelievable desire from Martinelli. I personally think that should have been, if Arsenal conceded that goal, I'd be going crazy at my defender. Why did you not come to the ball? Why did you not deal with that? How has he run across you? How have you been blindsided like that? So I'd be livid. But what I love about Martinelli is that when Odegaard has not even kicked the ball yet, he's got his arm up, back post, desperate for the ball, making the run already. The ball's not come exactly where he wants, but he's not giving up on it. He doesn't throw his hands in the air. He's come right all the way across the defender. The first touch that he gets on that isn't a composed touch like with the instep or outstep of his foot. That's just, I want to get anything possible on this to get myself a bit of luck. And he got that bit of luck. On another day, he could have hit his hip and bounced away. But it's just that way of playing that makes Martinelli, for me, such a brilliant player to watch, and the sort of player that fans just love, because you look at him and you think, if I had one game as an Arsenal fan, if I could play one game for Arsenal, that's sort of what I'd play like. I'd be desperate in every moment. And it's just that desperation that we saw from Martinelli to make an average pass into an assist and go and win us a game.
You know what? It's funny how we see games as fans, right? Because, you know, you said like, you know, I don't agree with you with this, that, and the other, because we won. We did. You're right. And it was a good finish. That point, I totally get. What I think I meant is during that course of that game, you saw the faces of Arsenal, the many faces that we've seen throughout the season. The team that can be in control 1 second, the team that suddenly switches off out of nowhere. I mean, let's be honest. 62 minutes, Mo, right? We look pretty on top of the game, right? We look pretty much in control. We suddenly just switch off. Gabriel, for me, switches off there. Lets Benteke get in from in behind, and it wasn't a high ball like he was threatening in the earlier parts of the game. It was a low cross that we should have dealt with, right? So then we suddenly just look fragile for a little bit. Is where I was coming from.
I get it from that point of view.
Three quality goals. You can't knock the goals. All three of our goals were quality, but. For me, maybe that's why Gabriel's not been getting as much game time as we think, because he does have a tendency, I've noticed, to switch off. No,
I hear what you're saying. I think in the first half of the season he was absolutely brilliant for us. Then second half he has struggled a little bit, but I would question the whole defensive line. I do not understand why we were that high. When I saw where we positioned ourselves, I thought to myself, you know, they call it the corridor of uncertainty. Yeah, we've all heard that sort of phrase. Yeah. And I think we made it very, very easy for Townsend to play that ball in that corridor of uncertainty, because we made that corridor huge.
Too much space.
Way too much space between goalkeeper and our defense. As soon as Townsend runs up, we're already running back towards our goal. And the one thing you don't want to do as a defensive unit is be looking at your goalkeeper. You want to be facing out in the direction of play, so you can deal with it and keep your people that you're marking goal side. I have to admit, I need to go and watch that back to kind of like fully do that inquisition. But that's what I felt like. And as I say, this isn't just in hindsight. This is when I was watching the actual game. I thought to myself, oh, there's a lot of space there. So, yeah, Gabriel, I would have liked to have seen him do better, but I don't think it was helped by that defensive setup.
Now, what about the rest of the team's performance? I mean, Partey and El Neni, they look pretty solid for me up until that 62nd minute, and then it all went a little bit pear-shaped. But then I was very disappointed in aubameyang today. We've got some players that can interlink. You've got Pepe, who's looking lively at the moment for me. He's looking like he's making the right decisions when he's got the ball instead of trying to take a man on all the time. He's looking lively. Smith-Rowe, we know what he's capable of. Saka, we know. But what is going on with aubameyang? Because really, you would think that this team now was set up in a way to get the best out of him, no?
Yeah, I mean, look, he was disappointing today. I just I don't know how long what I'm about to say can last as an excuse. But malaria is no joke. right? And the fact that he recovered from that, I wonder, because, you know, he lost, I think he said like 4 kg or something like that of his body weight, and he said he's never felt worse and that sort of thing. I just wonder, you know, is that still having an impact on him? And as I say, like, at what point do you draw the line and say, look, you can't use that as an excuse anymore?
Yeah.
We've only got 1 game left in our season, right? So I can guarantee you at the start of next season, I'm not going to be talking about malaria. But I'm just saying, potentially that's a reason to cut him some slack. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen more out of Aubameyang today.
No, I agree. I mean, look, you're right about the Martinelli thing, by the way, man. I totally do agree with you. I mean, I do feel that was a good ball from Odegaard, and this is what I mean, how our perceptions as fans. You know, I might see. I think, yes, Martinelli does make the ball with his run. He's hungry. You can see he's got his hand up far post, right? But also the ball had to be in that place where he could zip in front of that defender and get that thigh to it to take it away from the goalie to put it in. I think it was a good bit of vision from Odegaard, personally. I mean, we did struggle when he come on for a bit, but you know, all in all,
I don't know.
It's worked out.
It'll be interesting to see what the people watching say, because for me, it's not a perfect pass when the striker has to do that much work. And let's not forget, where he actually gets onto the end of Odegaard's ball, at that point, I don't think people are thinking that he's going to score. It's just a case of get whatever part of your body you can on it. And we got that break of luck that Martinelli deserved. But it's because of that. I don't feel like this was a perfect pick out from Odegaard where it went exactly to the player and, you know, in his path or to the right side of the player or that sort of thing. So yeah, I don't know, but ultimately, look, I love the fact that we're in a position where we're talking about that. We're talking about, was that pass perfect, or was that 100% intentional? Did it land on the penny? And we're talking about a pass that led to a goal. Too often this season, we've been talking about a lapse, a stupid decision, some ill discipline. Today we're talking about a victory, and we're kind of being picky about it. So yeah, I'd much rather be in this position.
Do you know what? That's a good point. I mean, we've had a lot worse this season, haven't we? We've seen a lot worse as well. At least there was a reaction, which is the one thing I will say. I mean, who was the standout performer for you in this game for Arsenal? In your opinion, who actually made things tick, and who deserves the sort of man of the match?
I think Pepe, as a result of his 2 goals, deserves a lot of credit as well. And also, I think Mohamed El-Neni, for the 2nd game in a row, I thought he did absolutely brilliantly. Because against Chelsea in the last game, he was brilliant, you know, in the middle of the park. And today as well, what I saw from him, especially in the first half, I thought his first half was brilliant. And sometimes I feel like we have this thing in our minds where we remember the most recent part of a game, like the end part of a game. But I think El-Neni in that first half, I think his pass, I don't remember seeing him misplace a pass in that first half. And not only that, one of the criticisms that El-Neni faces quite a lot is that sideways and backwards. But he played a lot of passes forward over the top, not kind of like percentage passes, a bit more, slightly more expansive. Now, I'm not talking about him being Pirlo all of a sudden now in terms of his passing range, but he actually played passes where sometimes I might watch him and I think, oh, we should play that pass. But he always played that pass. I thought the first half was brilliant. So I think he deserves credit as well. So yeah, both of them. And Tierney as well. I thought, you know, I found it so funny. He was getting booed every time he got the ball. And the moment of quality that he put together to lay that on to, because the one we're talking about Odegaard's, was that a perfect assist or not? I'll tell you what, Kieran Tierney's for Pepe in the first half, that was perfection. It really was perfection. Brilliant link up with Saka as well. And, you know, I thought they combined brilliantly, and Tierney deserved a lot of praise as well. And also, I want to say on El-Neni, I was very, very interested to see what the lineup would be this week, because since last week, a lot has happened. And El-Neni posted on social media about his support for Palestine. And Lavazza, who, as far as I'm concerned now, never ever buying Lavazza again. These guys can go to hell, because for them to come out and try and suppress what El-Neni did, numerous other players have done that. I haven't heard of any other responses like this. So Lavazza, really, I think that's really, really poor form. And I was worried about Arsenal's reaction, especially after the way they reacted to Ozil and the Uyghur Muslims and the way they distanced themselves. I was really, really hurt by that. And I was looking at Arsenal, what are you going to do in this situation? And do you know what? I think Arsenal have been okay, actually. They said, yeah, we'll let all them know about the wider implications, but that's very non-committal. The wider implications might be pat on the back, you go for it, Mohamed El-Neni, the wider implications are that you might help the Palestinian cause. You know, this is not them saying the wider implications are negative. I think that's a very generic statement. So actually, I hope someone's gone in there and said to him, yeah, we don't give a crap. You do what you want. But for me, what the really telling thing is that off the back of that criticism, off the back of a sponsor overstepping the mark and trying to control what a player says and his freedom of expression, he's back in the starting lineup. That's what mattered to me today. And I was really, really worried as to, after a really good game, a man of the match performance against Chelsea, are they going to put him in, or is there going to be some BS reason why he's not in? And he was in and he did well. And I'm delighted with that.
Do you know what, Mo? I didn't look at it from that perspective that deeply. Personally, right, I'll be very honest with you now, you brought it up, is I was a little bit disappointed by Arsenal because in my opinion, there's been players that have Pogba, you know, at Leicester they did it as well. There's been players that have openly done it and have no issues. For me, they're constantly thinking about the marketing implications, right? And that Lavazza thing was even though they said yes, okay, the wide, you know, we've told them about the wider implications. I still don't understand why it's okay to talk about one particular subject matter and not another. And that's where they did disappoint me. However, now that you've put it this way, in the sense of you were looking to see if he was going to play today, that was a bigger statement than I actually thought of. So, you know what? Hats off to you for bringing that up, because I was still sitting there thinking from a negative perspective.
Yeah, but bro, listen, what's funny about it, right? There's a Mohamed who plays for Arsenal, and there's this Mohamed that talks about Arsenal. And actually, we're not in two dissimilar positions today, right? Because listen, there's a reason why I'm on your channel today, right? There's a reason. And that is because AFTV have removed me from their platform.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there was a super chat here for you, Mo. So, I mean, you might as well answer it then. Fantastic addition, it says here. Already, it's a great podcast. It's a big loss for AFTV. I can't believe they still have not bothered to explain this. We're all with you, Mo. You are in a great place. So go ahead, bro. Say what you want to say.
Look, Aaron, thank you very much. And listen, I'm not going to go into too much detail right now. I want to make sure that when I speak about this, I do this. And as I've always done, people that have watched me on AFTV know that when I try and speak level-headed. I don't run and rave, you know, as I try and suppress that as much as I can. So I'll speak about this properly and comprehensively. And that will be a long, long video. That'll be a long podcast, you know, and I'll choose where I do that because I want the tone to be right, you know, on that, because it means a lot to me, what's happened to me and the reasons behind it. But what I would say, just in terms of that parallel between Mohamed El-Neni and me, look, I was doing something for a particular organization and I spoke out about Palestine, or in fact, what I did, I called out AFTV for their response to me and my coverage of Palestine. Now, what's happened there is that they've cut me off. They've said to me, that's it, you're gone, and I'm no longer there. And so the reason why I'm drawing this parallel between me and Mohamed El-Neni, right, is because I don't have super high expectations of any institution or any organization where I expect them to come out and actively back the cause. Yeah. So with Arsenal and Mohamed El-Neni, I would have loved it if they came out and said, we fully support Mohamed El-Neni and we fully support the cause that he's fighting for, and our hearts and souls are with Palestine as well. I would have loved that, but I don't have that expectation. All I expect of institutions is don't suppress. When someone is being brave enough to speak out, just don't suppress them. And to me, what Arsenal did wasn't a suppression. It didn't go as far as what I would have loved. It wasn't active support, but it wasn't active suppression. It was in that acceptable middle ground for me, because I realized that, you know, ultimately they do need to keep their sponsors sweet, or that is a priority for them. I'm not saying that that's what I would have done. As I said, I would have loved it if they'd done it differently. The parallel, though, with me and AFTV is it was active suppression. And that is what has happened. When I called them out on their active suppression, they had an opportunity, obviously, to turn around and say, hey, we got it wrong. And, you know, sorry. But instead, they've chosen to double down on that active suppression and now exile me. They just don't want that smoke, in a way, because I'm not one to not speak out about things. And the point is, you know, what I find, just a couple of things that I find a bit ironic about it, is that Arsenal Fan TV, the whole business model is built on people like you and I talking about the team that we love with no holds barred, Robbie often uses that analogy about this isn't North Korea, implying that he's not a dictator. He's acted very dictatorially with me. And actually, he hasn't had any sort of nuance in allowing me, or he hasn't appreciated the irony in saying to people, talk about Arsenal, but when he's on the receiving end of it and someone's talking about his fan channel, all of a sudden, that's it, you're exiled. Imagine if Arsenal treated people who talk on AFTV the way AFTV have treated me when I've spoken about AFTV. We'd all be banned from the ground. And the other thing is, look, this is my first time on this on the Arsenal Lounge with yourself, right?
Yeah.
If I do this for 7 years with you, right, and I invite you to my house, I invite you to my wedding, I back you physically when someone steps to you, I back you verbally when people criticize you and your channel, and all of that has gone within the last 7 years, yeah? I would expect that if you and I have a serious falling out, you'd still have the decency to say, do you know what, thank you for everything you've done for my channel, but we're parting ways. And the fact that even that hasn't been done, I think it shows a real lack of class.
Bro, you've brought it up, so I'm going to ask you the question because I'm interested, right? You know what's going on. What was the reason given? Because is it just purely that is the involvement maybe with the likes of your Talk Sports and, or what I'm talking about higher up the chain? Has someone somewhere said to them, look, you can't be doing this, or there's going to be issues? Because why is it okay to do Black Lives Matter, for example? They're still kneeling before the games. Why is it okay to talk about other important issues, humanitarian issues? What's the problem with this? What reason have they given you?
You're asking me to give you the reason. I haven't been given a reason.
So he hasn't said to you, look, we can't do this because of such and such.
No, listen, what's broken the camel's back is the fact that I called them out on what they've done. Now, I've had a lot of private conversations. This has been going back for many, many years, yeah? Now, what's broken the camel's back is the fact that I called them out. And this is what I find really, really hypocritical. This is what the channel is based on. We call Arsenal out. We call out the owners. We call out the CEO. We call out the people negotiating the transfers. We call out the players. We call everyone out. We call out the fan groups. We call everyone out. No one escapes the criticism at Arsenal when things upset us. But now when I've called them out, that's it. But listen, I'm not going to offer a reason on their behalf. That's for them to tell people like you and I. Well, they should at least be telling me that in no uncertain terms, this is why. But for me, the way I understand it, based on the timeline, is because I had the audacity to call them out on their suppression. Now, I'm going to pass that responsibility over to AFTV and Robbie. They are the ones that should be explaining their reasons. And I think that when you look at the collective views that I've had on that channel over the last 7 years, we're talking about the tens of millions. I think they owe it to those people that have invested their time watching me on their platform to just explain why I'm no longer there. So
I would have thought they would have called you up and had a private chat with you and said, Mo, look, this is the reason. And at least maybe you could get your head around it a little bit and try to say, okay, there is a valid reason here and there, but nothing has been said to you. And that's what I find it difficult.
We'll nip this conversation in the bud now.
Yeah.
I basically, I called them out. Robbie's taken exception to it. He's messaged me telling me that he's disgusted by my tweet. And then I've said to him, let's talk about this. And if you can explain to me if I've done anything wrong, I'll apologize. Obviously, I don't think I've done anything wrong, but that's it. Cut ties. He does not want, that's it. Doesn't want anything to do with me off the back of that. And I think, it's funny to me because I have literally, I'm not a fighter. I don't try and put myself across like I'm sort of a gangster or whatever. I haven't been in a fight in years. When times got rough, when people were stepping to Robbie, I was there, out of my comfort zone, not looking to hide that I don't really fancy myself in, like, when it comes to getting into a fight or whatever. The last thing I want to do is turn up to, my work environment the next day with a black eye. But I just don't think it's right to do that to a friend, where you kind of just vacate your loyalties as a friend. Now, I just feel, really disappointed by the fact that they haven't had the decency to look at things on balance and say, do you know what, you've backed us 100 times and you've called us out once, and to say that actually, you know what, you shouldn't be treating someone like that. But it's on them to respond to this. It's on them to offer their explanation. And my last messages to Robbie was saying that I'm happy to talk anytime.
Brilliant. Well, Mo, listen, thank you so much for clearing that up. I mean, look, you're getting a lot of love in here. Everyone's got your back. There's a lot of people in here who support what you're saying. And mate, I stand with you on that as well. Look, I just want to make it clear from our stance as well. We're against any type of sort of thing against humanity, any sort of atrocities, any sort of, we don't want it, whether you're Hindu, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Christian, whether you're Muslim. It's about doing what's right, and we can't stay silent in such matters. We need to learn from the past. We need to learn from what's happened in history. So, well played to you, mate, and I've got utmost respect for you for standing your ground. A lot of people are easily led by social media and being on a fan channel or YouTuber and not think about their moral standing. So respect to you for doing that, mate.
Thanks a lot, man.
No, all day long. And very quickly, what I do like to take it back to the football, what we haven't mentioned, Arteta's performance in all of this, right? Because let's be honest, did he get the lineup right? Is it his fault? Are these players letting him down by switching off? But then you can also argue the substitutions he made saved the day, right? So what would you give Arteta's performance today?
It's weird how you view substitutions, right? Do you view it as, well, he should have played him like Martinelli? Should have played Martinelli in the first place? Or do you view it as actually, no, he was right to hold him back? I am personally fed up of his treatment of Martinelli. And if I was Martinelli, honestly, I would leave Arsenal. I would just say, listen, look, this is Gabriel Martinelli, right? Who can't start for the 9th best team in the league, in the Premier League. He's above that. If Arsenal were top of the league, I would turn around and say, right decision. If we were even top 4, I'd be saying, look, it's not easy to get into a Champions League side, Martinelli. Like, you need to graft. But the amount of game time Willian has had versus the amount of game time Martinelli has had, something doesn't stack up for me. So I would leave. But listen, today, Arteta, he did the job, and it's a results business. He'll always be judged on results. I don't think that he got the lineup bang on. I think Martinelli should be starting the game. But ultimately, right now, I wouldn't be overly critical or overly praiseworthy because we're not actually playing for much anymore. What really, really mattered to me, what for me was make or break for him, was the 2 legs against Villarreal. And in the first leg, he played a false 9. In the second leg, we were just the most passive team imaginable when you're losing European tie. And in the second leg, you're at home. So for me, over those 2 performances, I just thought to myself, that compounded everything else that had gone before in this season. And I was very, very dismayed by it. So today, look, it is what it is. Clearly, he's not going to be going anywhere. The club don't have the ambition to kind of be that ruthless with him. So now we'll see what he does next season, and I hope he takes advantage of this transfer window.
Well, if Martinelli, if you're watching, I don't share the same sentiments as Mo. Please stay. Yeah, all right. We could do with you for a couple of seasons.
I am banking on the fact that Martinelli won't watch the Arsenal Lounge. I hope he doesn't, because
it could be because of you now. He is. It's your fault. If you've done this, I'm blaming you, right? If he puts in a transfer request at the end of this, then
I'll go into hiding.
We could be falling out as well. That's it. You know what I mean? But, sure. But look, very quickly as well, I won't keep you much longer, but it's going to be interesting last game of the season, right? There's some lots of permutations. You don't know what's going to happen now, because the last I checked, I haven't looked now, maybe people in the chat can help. West Ham were drawing. I think my son was sitting there working it all out. If West Ham draw their next 2 games, if Spurs lose or draw against Leicester, there's a potential that we can leapfrog into that sort of European position. So it's going to be an interesting last day. It's typical Arsenal, don't you think, that we've left it at this point? But could there be a Spursy ending, maybe?
Well, I mean, looking at the goal difference, Spurs would need to lose. No, Spurs can draw as well, and Arsenal can lose.
That's what we're talking about, yeah.
So, I mean, of course there could be a Spursy ending. They're already trying, isn't it?
There's always room for a Spursy ending. Always.
So, listen, they bottled it today. And let me just check whilst we're talking. Who have they got last game of this season?
They've got Leicester away.
Oh, perfect.
This is what I'll be talking about.
That is just great. Because
my son was sitting there with me. It's crazy. Yeah. Leicester have to win. It all depends on obviously what happens with West Ham now. I don't know. Are they still drawing? Can we check?
They are. They are.
All right. So if they draw and then they've got their last game is against Southampton. So they've got Southampton. We've got Brighton at home, and Spurs have got Leicester away. So Spurs have definitely got the hardest tie out of the 3 of us. Could it happen? It's very interesting because it obviously could happen.
because Leicester have to win. Right now, they're out of the Champions League spots. And Chelsea, they've got Villa away last game of the season. So Leicester know that it'll be a very interesting dynamic, because what we could see is that if Chelsea are winning against Villa, Leicester might be trying to get more goals to pip Liverpool on goal difference.
Yeah.
And then if Chelsea drop to drawing against Villa, for example, then Leicester might take their foot off the gas entirely and say, "Oh no, we don't need goal difference now because Chelsea are losing." That final day is going to be madness.
Yeah,
I would love to see Chelsea drop out, Tottenham obviously lose because Leicester beat. If Leicester beat them, then Arsenal pip Tottenham as well. And listen, it's not the be all and end all. Our benchmark as Arsenal fans is not finishing above Tottenham, but it's just a funny. It would just be a funny end to the season. It's just a bit of banter, not to be taken seriously, not to be celebrated, but always a good laugh.
I love the way you covered your back there. I'll be celebrating if it does happen, but yeah, I agree with you. It's not the benchmark we want to set, but
of course,
we've got to take the positives out of it where we can, and it's going to be an interesting final day. Hopefully, I believe you're coming back to give us your match recap for that game, the Brighton game. Hopefully, it's another positive one. This could be maybe a team that gives us wins. Let's hope, So, is there anything you'd like to finish off with, Mo, before we let you go?
Boycott Lavazza.
Boycott Lavazza, there you go. Go and make your own coffees, all that sort of thing. Mo, it's been a pleasure having you on. Can't wait to have this chat with you again on, I think it's Saturday. So, mate, listen, for all of you loungers, thank you for joining us. Please smash those likes. If you haven't subscribed already, please do so. Oh, while I got you here, Mo, we made 10K just a couple of a few hours back. We made 10K now. We started only a few months ago, so the support's been great. We've got loads of content coming up, some more great guests and Mo on Saturday. So listen, it's been a pleasure having you, Mo. Pleasure to all the loungers, and peace out to everybody.